Hello everyone, Jason from misprintedmtg.com, and today I've got this really neat test print to show you. I was able to pick this up on eBay for fairly cheap. The Librarities calls this the white foil test print for the star. It is a blank foil test print, and usually the more common versions of this test print will have a white stripe on the side. It could either be on the left side or the right side. It comes in different thicknesses. And the foil itself is actually different than the normal foil that you see in a magic card. You could actually see a few fingerprints on this, and the really interesting thing that it says on the librarities is, quote, "The problem with these test prints is that once you get a fingerprint on them, it never comes off. All you gotta do is touch the face of the card, and the clear foil image is permanently marred by the fingerprint. Keeping them in sleeves or touching them only by the edge of the card is the only way to prevent this from happening." So you can see here, I got this one. It's not in the greatest condition, and it came with fingerprints. I also let my buddy Ryan put a big old thumbprint on it. Today we're going to science this. I want to put what it says on the librarities to the test, because I don't think anyone has really done that before, maybe. I don't know where the information came from. Maybe Alexis can clarify that for us. But we're going to try three different methods of trying to remove these fingerprints from this card. Um, we're going to try, at first, a microfiber cloth. If that doesn't work, we're going to bring in some 99% isopropyl alcohol. And if that doesn't work, we're going to bring in the big bad boy, acetone. Um, There's potential to ruin the test print. This is a copy I got specifically for this test, not the ones in my binder. I do have a bunch of versions of this test print, and they are very awesome. So, without further ado, let's get to testing. First test, you know what? I'm going to add my own thumbprint to this just to really make it mine. Just, there we go. I have marked the card. So, test number one. See if we can get the camera to focus. Oh, okay. A little bit of rubbing with a microfiber cloth. Applying light pressure. Nice circular motions. And let's take a look and see what happened. Well, we can see our fingerprints are still there. So let's move on to test number two. Get my little cup here. Pour in a little bit of isopropyl alcohol. And I'm actually going to try and removing it with a cosmetic sponge. This is a lot finer than a cotton swab. Usually when you take a cotton swab or a cotton ball to the surface of a card, it'll scratch up the surface. This is much finer and will be much gentler on the card. So get a little bit of alcohol. Scrubby, 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 scrub. All right, I think that was a nice thorough cleaning. You could actually see that the cosmetic sponge got a little bit dirty in the process, and we could actually watch the alcohol dry in real time. Isn't that cool? So I'm just going to let that dry up for a bit. Maybe help it along a little. Maybe try and take some off. And that actually looks like it took off some of the fingerprints. The card surface is definitely different than what it used to be. Um, Maybe the fresh one that I put on there is still a little bit visible, or maybe that's where we first hit it with the alcohol. I'm actually going to give it another go with the alcohol and see if that cleans off the fingerprints. But what we could definitely see is the fingerprint that was up here, that was made by my friend Ryan, is no longer there. So dip a little more alcohol, squeeze that out. Just give it a light scrubbing. Dry it off with the edge of the sponge. And there's a little bit of a spot up here I wanted to try and get. And you can see that we are actually making some progress with just the alcohol. Isn't that cool? So it looks like fingerprints can be removed from this material, but it does kind of leave some streakiness, and maybe there's a method to the madness. Gonna give it a quick more once over and just let that dry naturally. I was not expecting this. I was expecting to have to use the acetone, and I wasn't even expecting too many results from the acetone. And this is the gunk that's come off on our cosmetic sponge. And I'd say that's already a resounding success from the state that the card was in. Um, there are no more fingerprints on the surface of it. I don't even think I need to take the acetone to this. But you know what? For the sake of science, let's go ahead and just hit it with a tiny bit of acetone, see what it does to the surface of the card. Because this video is for science. Let me open up my bottle of acetone. Get a new cosmetic sponge, a little bit of a dip, squeeze out the extra. And I'm going to wash my hands after this. You really shouldn't mess around too much with acetone. Um, it's not the friendliest of chemicals. But let's go ahead and just do a quick once over to see if we can get rid of more of that surface stuff. Nice, gentle. You can see we got a little bit of gunk on the edge, so maybe it did a cleaner job. Give this a moment to dry. It's a little streaky. Um, Maybe that was a spot that I missed, but the surface of the card really hasn't changed much. So, I think that's going to go ahead and wrap up this video. I'm going to say that fingerprints can actually be removed from these test prints. There is no more signs of those fingerprints. Will it leave the surface of the card perfect? No, but it looks like you could do a couple different passes on it to try and get it to be as clean as you can possibly make it. Um, let's go ahead. I'm not going to end the video yet. I'm going to go ahead and put another fingerprint on it and see what the acetone does to it. It barely leaves a fingerprint anymore, but it's there. Get our acetone sponge. This is going to come right off, I can tell. or it's going to be worse. Look at that. I think I should have used a cleaner sponge. Let's see if the alcohol does a better job than the acetone. Go back to my alcohol sponge. I'll dip in the other end because this end is clean. Yeah, look at all that stuff it just took off. That acetone might have been a little too aggressive for it. So, still a little streaky, but I bet with practice, you can get it to be so that the surface of the card ends up being really nice. Maybe if we go across it, do some diagonals. So, is it perfect? No. Is it an improvement from having giant fingerprints on it? Yeah. I think with a bit of work, you could get it to be really nice. If you don't want those fingerprints on it, just use a tiny bit of isopropyl alcohol and a cosmetic sponge, and you can get rid of most of those. This was fun to science one of these out. I don't think anyone wanted to risk one of these test prints before. Um, but I think video has been a great success. So thank you for tuning in. Um, Remember to like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube jazz, and go to misprintedmtg.com for all sorts of information about misprints and rarities. Also, I guess before I wrap things up, I recently started a Redbubble store for some misprintedmtg.com swag. So if you want like t-shirts, coffee mugs, water bottles, um, all sorts like hoodies. There's all sorts of really cool stuff there. I'm gonna leave a link in the description. So go support the website. All the proceeds from all that swag is just going directly to the upkeep and maintenance of the website. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. This was fun.